Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome out to the Infusionsoft Virtual Academy. My name is Scott Richens. I'm a member of the training team here with Infusionsoft, and as usual, I am stoked to be here with you guys. I love what we're doing here with the Infusionsoft Virtual Academy, helping people every day learn Infusionsoft. So the first thing I want to do is make sure that audio and video is coming through loud and clear. You should be able to see my screen. It says the new campaign builder, and you should hear my voice. If so, give me a shout out using the questions section. Let me know where you're joining us from, and we'll get the interaction going here as we're getting started. If this is your very first virtual academy, I want to point out to you on the right-hand side, we've got the GoToMeeting dialog box. There's a little control panel over there, and there's a portion there that says questions. Ask me questions as we go. That's the point of these. I have a little bit of a presentation we'll go through at the beginning, but I want you to be able to ask your questions and share those here with the group, and I will share those and answer the questions either as we go or during a Q&A portion that we always hold there towards the end. Looks like we got some folks from Columbus, Ohio, Houston, over in Austin, Texas, West Virginia, Budapest, Hungary. There we go. So, shoot, what time is it there for you, Troy? Curious what time, probably getting late in the evening there. But again, I appreciate y'all being out here today. Today's session, we're going to focus on the new campaign builder. Like I said, I've got a little bit of a presentation we're going to go through here in the beginning. And then my goal is to actually get all of you into Infusionsoft and building a campaign. Deal? How's that sound, you guys? We're going to go in. I'm going to give you some time as we go through. I'm going to demonstrate something, and then I want you to go through and actually create it. And my goal by the time that we're done today is to have you to have created your first campaign and actually launched it. It's going to be very simple, but that's the goal as we're going through things here today. Now, if you want to connect with me, I invite you to connect with me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is here at Scott Richens. If you have any questions, feel free to ask that question there on Twitter. Also, you can use the hashtag ISVA. I use the hashtag ISVA on everything that I do related to the Infusionsoft Virtual Academy. It gives us that common thread there as we're going through things. So with that being said, I'm going to flip on. I got a little bit of presentation here we're going to walk through as we're getting started. And then we will, after establishing a foundation, we'll dive into Infusionsoft itself. One thing that I want to make sure that you're aware of, those of you over in London, heck, Troy, you're over there at in Hungary. If y'all want to join us for an event, we are bringing Infusionsoft University on the road to London. That is a paid event that we do. We are bringing the best of the best. Myself, Jordan Hatch, and Francis Jones, the top trainers that we got here, are all coming out to London there on June 18th through 21st. So if you're interested in joining us there, check out infusionsoft.com/UK University. Our session here that we've got next week, it looks like David's joining us there. Our session here in Chandler at headquarters actually sold out 2 or 3 weeks ago. So if you're thinking of joining us there in London, make sure to get signed up on that one sooner than later, and we'll look forward to seeing you out there. Now, as we're talking about the campaign builder, this was a statement. I was doing some research with customers a few months back. This was probably in February. I was chatting with a particular customer, and she made this statement when we were talking about the campaign builder. She said, "It's where I organize my whole sales and marketing life." And I had to sit on that one for a little while. I know how powerful the campaign builder is, but when she made that statement, I was pretty impressed on that and thought about it. And it's actually quite true. The campaign builder, as we built it to be a very powerful and flexible tool. Now, sometimes when you build something that's so powerful, it can be a little bit overwhelming. I recognize that. I've talked to many customers that just kind of ask the question, where do I start? So what we're going to be doing here today, I'm not diving deep into all of the details and all of the crazy configurations that you can do with the campaign builder. I'm going to focus on the 80-20 rule. I'm going to teach you all the 20% of the tools there within the campaign builder that you will need to use to get 80% of the benefit. I'm really going to focus on breaking it down and focusing our efforts here today. And if you have some questions on more detailed parts of the tool, we can talk about that more during the Q&A portion. But just to set the stage there, that's my goal here, is to really focus on the basics of the campaign builder and lay a solid foundation from which we can then grow in the future as you're using the campaign builder. Now, what do I mean when I say, this quote here, it's where I organize my whole sales and marketing life? That's pretty ambiguous, so let's get a little bit more specific. These are the types of things that I'm talking about. Number one, web forms and autoresponders. Using web forms to capture new leads on your website and having autoresponders, automatic emails go out to them. We can create those within the campaign builder. We can create prospect education sequences. So after somebody has signed up to receive some information or come on board with us, we can now follow up with them with an automated education sequence, be that online, offline. There's a lot of things that we can do. Post-purchase follow-up. When somebody purchases from us, we want to make sure and follow up with them. We don't want to just leave them stranded and never talk to them again. No, we want to build that relationship so that we can continue with those customers. Really, most of your profits are going to be made after the first sale. It's when you make the second sale and the third sale and referrals and otherwise. So post-purchase follow-up is a big one. Sales pipelines. Those of you that have sales teams, oftentimes you'll have your sales pipeline as well. You can build in your sales pipeline in the campaign builder. It's very powerful. But like I said, the question becomes, where do I start? So what I want to do is really lay a foundation here for us of what the campaign builder does and how it can help us. Now, the question that I have as we go through, and I'm talking about all those different things, is how much work does that take? As you start thinking about all of the things that you should be doing in your business, sometimes it comes to mind, man, if I just need some more employees, I need some people to help me do these things. I know I should have some web forms on my site. I know I should be doing some prospect education. I know I need to be doing some post-purchase follow-ups, or all these things. These are all things that I know I need to do. But A, where do I start? And B, how do I get more hands on deck? If I just had some more employees, I could do all this stuff. Well, Infusionsoft can really help us do that. How many of you have seen the movie Despicable Me? I think there's a sequel coming out this summer. Despicable Me, it's kind of a funny video, but it actually explains well here. It gives us a good analogy to draw from for the campaign builder. You got the evil guy Gru who wants to steal the moon. Okay. And he needs some help putting together his systems and building the space, all this kind of stuff. He's got these guys called minions. Now, these minions, they're not the most brilliant people on the planet, okay? They're kind of dumb. But they can do something. They can do it pretty good. So for each of these minions that he has, they pretty much have one job, and they've got something that they focus on. So as we're going through and building the campaigns here, we're going to start talking about some different elements of the campaigns. And it's kind of like each one is a minion that can do something for you. It's not real smart, but it does what you tell it to do. And it does it very well, and it does it consistently. So that's what we're going to start talking about here is, hey, how do we put some minions to work in your business? David says, got to get me some minions. Absolutely. So let's show you how to do that. Now, John asked, will this be recorded? Yes, it will. We'll go through that here. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pull out a pen. I want you to open up a Word document, do something. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, and I want you to write these down. Okay, trust me, this is going somewhere. My question is this: jot down 3 or 4 things that you want your prospects or customers to do. What is something that you want them to do? Yes, the first one most people say is buy. I get that. That's fantastic. Jot that one down. But what else do you want them to do? Okay? How do you get new leads? Okay? Maybe you want them to call your office. Maybe you want them to sign up on your website. You've got some lead capture and web forms there already on your site. Maybe you want them to come in for a consultation or request a consultation. You want them to buy a product. You want them to buy a second product. What are some things that you want your leads, your prospects, and your customers to do? And go ahead, give me some examples here in the questions section. Share with me some of the things that you're writing down. I'll share those out with the group and then spark some ideas. When you keep it to yourself, I call it stealing. David said, open a dialogue. David, how do you mean? Open a dialogue how? Fire off an email to you. Keith says, send referrals. Fantastic. Whoops, I just clicked on something there, and that always causes me some issues here. Give me one moment. Keith said, send referrals. That one's fantastic. Request a free report was what Christy said. Dennis wants them to purchase. Tell me about their event. Sign up for a newsletter. Let me get my screen turned back on here. Refer me to another client. Opt in, provide additional strategic data, buy, upsell, refer, fill out a contact us form, complete our quota on our website. Okay, you start to get an idea here. I want you to identify something specific that you want your leads, your prospects, or your customers to do. Now, once you get that all done, go ahead and draw a line to the right-hand side of that, or make a new column, whatever you're doing. I'm looking for some columns here. We're going to do a point and a counterpoint. Okay, so you just told me what you want them to do. My question is this: on the other side of the line, how do you respond when they take that action? Write that one down. So on the left-hand side, you've got, here's the action they should take. On the right-hand side, this is how I respond. Action, reaction, action, reaction. So go ahead and jot that one down. And again, when you get that, let me know. Jot down real quick here in the questions section. What's the action you want them to take, and how do you respond? They buy the product, I ship them the product. Great. Or they buy the product, I ship them the product, and then I follow up, and I have a customer service campaign, and I have a survey. What are those things that you do in response to them taking an action? I'll give you a clue. If you can't answer that, that's probably a problem. Okay? When somebody takes an action, how do you respond? Dennis says, let's see, Dennis's earlier, Dennis, I'm trying to find what you had jotted down earlier. Dennis wants them to purchase, and then he gives them access to Customer Hub. So Dennis has some protected content that he then gives them access to. Terry wants to thank them for reading the information and book a date for speaking. I think there's a little bit more on there, Terry, but I can't read that one quite yet. So, okay, you start to get the idea there. Action, reaction. Prospects or customers do something, you respond. Rick said training. They request some training, and then he wants to send them the session details, invoice costs, confirm attendee list. Okay, fantastic. So each of us have these processes within our business. I'm trying to surface those up here because here's where we're gonna dovetail that now. You just put together the actions on the left, the reactions on the right. Here's how I'm gonna translate that into the campaign build with what we're doing. The actions that are taken are what we're going to call goals. What you do to then react, to respond, to then follow up after that action is taken, we're going to call those sequences. And here's basically what happens. Within the campaign builder, we've got these goals. They happen to be circles. Sequences happen to be these block-looking things that are going to be our communication and processes. And remember when I talked about the minions? I said they're not real smart, but they can do something really good. On these goals, it's kind of like we're able to take one of these minions and say, hey, you know what? I want you to keep an eye out for somebody to do this. I want you to keep an eye out for somebody to fill out this web form. I want you to keep an eye out for somebody to buy this product. That's your job. All you do is watch for somebody to take this action. And as soon as they take that action, you go tell these guys it's their turn. Okay, so you've got these goals, you've got these minions that are now focusing on watching for something to occur. You're putting Infusionsoft to work for you, watching out for these goals, because whenever somebody takes that action, you want to respond. So let's set up the system to then respond for you. Okay, so once that person takes that action, now we can put things into play. Now we can follow up automatically with some emails. Now we can follow up automatically with a task that tells you to make a phone call if necessary. Schedule something, whatever it might be. So our goals are the actions, our sequences are how we react, how we respond. So let's get a little bit more definition of these. Goals are the actions taken by a contact or a user. So your contacts are your prospects or customers, like we've been talking about. There's also some things that your users can do, your users of Infusionsoft. We're not going to get in depth on that one here today, but we can also track actions taken by your users in relation to one of those contacts. These are things like the goals here that we're talking about, things like signing up for a newsletter, registering for an event, requesting some information, your ebook, your access to some free videos, whatever it might be, or purchasing a product. There are some more things that we can do, but this is just a short list of examples here to frame what I mean when I say goals. These are things you might want them to do. Now, sequences, like I said, this is how you respond. Specifically, these are communications or processes. Communications or processes. And what I mean by that are things like emails, letters, tasks, or segmentation. When somebody signs up for a newsletter, I want to send them a confirmation. I can send them a confirmation email. Thank you so much for signing up. I may also want to segment them and apply a tag or some sort of identifier on their contact record that says this person wants my newsletter, so I can identify them in the future. Maybe somebody requests a consultation and I need a task to now follow up with them or create a go-to-meeting or whatever my process might be. We can put this all together and structure it within the campaign builder. So we're going to start with something pretty simple here. Usually at this point, I get people kind of going, okay, what do I do? Where do I start still? What do we do? So we're going to start talking about autoresponders. Okay, autoresponders, in my experience, is something most people are familiar with. If you know what an autoresponder is, go ahead and raise your hand. There's a hand raise thing there on GoToWebinar. If you know what an autoresponder is, raise your hand. Okay, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Autoresponders, typically, it's tied to a web form. You can put a web form on your site. So if any of you have ever gone to a web page and there's a form there asking for your first name and email, you sign up there, and then boom, you get an email in response. Autoresponder. Somebody didn't just send that email to you. That was a system that was set up to automatically send an email out to you. So that's what we're actually going to create here right now. I'm going to invite you to follow along with me. I'm going to demonstrate, and then I'm going to have you do it. So I'll demonstrate and then have you do it so that you can actually create something with me, and we're going to build the foundation of how to use these campaigns as we get going. So let me escape here. I'm going to jump over to Infusionsoft. Again, go ahead and log in there. And again, for those of you that are just seeing this or that are new to this, the Infusionsoft ID is something new that we're rolling out to make it easier for you to log into all of your all of the Infusionsoft properties that we have, your Infusionsoft accounts, Customer Hub, the marketplace, the community, all that. So there's a lot of benefits to that. And you can just click here to create your ID if you have not done that already. I happen to have created one already, so I'm going to get logged in here. And I need to use the right password. There we go. Now, for this particular example, what we're going to want to do is go to the campaign builder. So go ahead and navigate to the campaign builder, click on that. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a campaign. And you can go ahead and give this one a name. So for me, I put ISVA at the front of all of mine, so I know that these were ones I built for the Infusionsoft Virtual Academy. If you have a particular autoresponder that you happen to need to create, heck, go ahead and just name this whatever that offer might be. Okay, so in this case, I'm just going to call this the ISVA. This is going to be my May Campaign Builder demo. So go ahead and get that all created there. Now, here's what I'm going to do. Remember how we talked about goals and sequences? Okay. We're pulling those directly across here because these are some of the key elements in creating our campaigns. We've got goals right here, and there's a number of different goals that we can choose from. I'll talk a little bit more about these in a moment, about the different types of goals and when and why you might use them. But for right now, let's stay focused on creating this autoresponder that we wanted here. Let me go ahead and say, well, heck, let's just do this sign up for a newsletter. Let's pull this one out here. And what you can do is you can double click the text to change the verbiage. Okay, and I recommend that you do that. I recommend that you make this fit you and your company and your verbiage and how you talk about things, because the campaign builder, the beauty of it is it gives you a visual representation of what your marketing looks like, what your marketing process and flow looks like. So go ahead and make it yours. I'm going to say sign up for not just newsletter, but my, let's say this is my virtual academy newsletter. Now, you'll notice here on the lower left, it's got this little purple icon. Remember when I said earlier, I was talking about the minions. I said, look, we can tell this minion to watch something specific. One's job might be to watch for somebody to fill out a form. Another one's job might be to watch for somebody to buy a product. This little icon right here is how we tell them what to watch for. So if I click on the little colored icon here, it says this goal is achieved when a contact does something, submits a web form, submits a landing page form, reaches a score, or purchases a product, or when a user does something, or when an integration does something. So for what we're doing here right now for an autoresponder, we're going to work with a web form. We want to create a web form that people can then fill out. So I'm going to select that option there, submits a web form. I'm going to hit save. And that's it. Now, what we can do to go create that web form is we simply double click on the big icon. The little icon controls what it does. The big icon is how we configure it. So when I double click on the big icon, it takes me directly to our drag and drop builder for creating web forms. Now, I want to tell you that I'm not going to dive deep into specifically how to create a web form on this session. We're going to keep it pretty bare bones. I do have another session called Drag and Drop Builder where I teach you more details on how to use all the ins and outs here of the Drag and Drop Builder. I have another session on landing pages and web forms where I teach you all the details and best practices and strategy about creating landing pages and web forms. For today, with the campaign builder, we have a lot of other things to talk about. So we're going to create a web form here, but we're not going to make it super fancy. Okay, we'll keep this one here pretty basic. We've got a first name and an email. So we're really not going to do anything to change this one. We'll just leave it here as first name and email. All right. Now, what you do have the ability to do is if you had gone through and done a bunch of customization here, sometimes you don't finish it all the way. And so you would want to leave this in draft mode. In this particular case, we're done with our web form. Honestly, like we don't have to do anything to have a functioning web form here. We'll just mark this. We'll change this from draft to ready. And the point of this is if you weren't quite done with your web form, well, you could leave it as draft and then you know it wasn't done yet. But in this case, we're just going to say, hey, you know what? This web form's ready to go. Tony, hang on to that question. I'll cover that a bit later on. It's a little more of an advanced question, but the answer is yes. So we're going to mark this one as ready, and then we will click back to campaign. Notice here how it just changed colors. When this was marked as draft only, let me go in here and mark it as draft only and go back to campaign. It's gray. It's kind of gray, black. But when I mark it as ready and I go back to campaign, there it is. It's kind of got this shaded green to it. And that's a visual thing telling me, hey, this thing's marked as ready. You just need to publish it to make it live. Okay, so we're getting closer here. Our web form's pretty much done already. Now, let me go to sequences. And underneath sequences, I'm going to pull out this one here called sequence. Okay. Now remember, what are sequences? We talked about sequences. Sequences is how we respond. Action, I fill out the form. Reaction, well, we're going to define that right now. So these are communication or processes. Emails, reminders, segmentation, whatever it might be. So let's say this is my newsletter follow-up. I want to just send them a quick thank you email. Thanks for registering for my my newsletter. Thanks for signing up for my newsletter. And I want to apply some segmentation that says they signed up for my newsletter. So we've pulled this out. Now all we need to do is double click on it. Okay. Now I usually lose some people right here, so I want to do that again. We just double click on the icon here, and that takes us down into a sequence. So things change now. Over here it says timers, communication, processes, and notes. These are now different because we're working on a sequence level. So our campaign level, let me go back to the campaign. Our campaign level, think of this as our 30,000 foot view. This is our very high level plan. We're saying, hey, we're going to track some goal here and we're going to respond somehow. Great. Fantastic. Now, how are we going to respond? Well, let's dive deep. Double click. This is like our 10,000 foot view. And now we can start talking about the specific communication and timing and processes and how that's all going. So notice right here, let me take communications. Okay, so everybody go with me here. Let's open the communications tab and let's pull out this one called email. And place it there, and you'll notice it automatically connects. I'm actually going to change this to say, thanks for signing up for my newsletter or our newsletter. So we'll set that one up. Again, this is our 10,000 foot view where we're saying these are the steps of communication or process. These are the steps within our follow-up that we're going to take. So if our campaign is our 30,000 foot view, the sequence is our 10,000 foot view, what's ground level? Well, ground level is what your customers actually experience. Let's double click on this email and we can configure the email. This is what your customers will actually receive. This is where we can define what that email says. Now, again, I have another session. My drag and drop builder session will teach you all the details about how to customize one of these emails. My email session here, I teach you how to create some of these email templates as well. So I invite you to check those ones out. But for this particular example today, we're going to keep it pretty simple. Okay, for those of you that are brand new to Infusionsoft and haven't customized your templates here at all, you probably have something in there that looks like, it looks like this. Maybe some different colors. You probably have a different logo. We've got some default one that's got like an apple inside of an orange or vice versa, something like that. Here's what I'm going to recommend that you do. Let's just create a very simple email that you can send out. We're going to go right here and we're going to delete the header, the banner that's up top. We're going to delete that article portion And you can do that by clicking on the trash can. For you, that will likely, that will likely put you somewhere kind of like this. Pretty blank, pretty plain. What I want to recommend that you do is you pull in one of these ones called a paragraph snippet. Now, some of you may not have the exact same interface that I have right here. There's about 20% of our user base that has not yet received the new update. It should be coming here in the next few days. If that's the case, yours doesn't look quite like this. Instead, you'll have something over here on the right-hand side that instead of saying layout and style, it will say snippets, layout and style. The only difference between yours and mine is my snippets are here, and yours are over on this section here. You'll still just want to pull that paragraph and drop it into place. So now here's what we're going to do. Let's just put together a very simple email here. Thanks for signing up for my newsletter. I'll be sure to include you on the next edition. Okay, obviously, you would put more into these emails, but I don't want to be going too deep here into the builder and trying to teach all of the builder aspects while we're talking about the campaign builder. We've got the drag and drop builder here again. I've got a couple other sessions where I dedicate time to teaching these tools themselves. But we're just going to focus on really the campaign builder portion. So we'll keep these pretty bare bones here. Oh, one other thing that you'll likely need to do is specify a subject. I already had a subject in place here. But go ahead and specify a subject. I'm going to change this one from my default to say, thanks for signing up. How are we doing here? Go ahead and give me some feedback there in the questions section. Let me know how you're doing. Are you keeping up here? Are we all set and ready to go? I'm going to put the hands down. If you have your email completed, again, we're not trying to do anything real fancy right now. I'm really wanting to just show you the basics here of what to do. So go ahead and raise your hand if you're done with that particular portion. All right, how's that? Is my audio coming through better there? Okay, awesome, perfect. Not sure what's happening there, but just unplugged the mic and plugged it back in. Okay, perfect. So once you're done with this, once you're done with the email, what we want to do, again, is change it from draft to ready. Draft to ready. That marks our email as done. It's ready to go. Okay. And I'll click back to sequence. Again, notice how it changed colors here. For this particular example, we said we wanted to do some segmentation as well. So I'm going to pull out this process one that says apply, remove, tag. We're going to tag this person as wanting to receive our newsletter. So again, we pull that one out, it automatically connects, and then we can double click it. Tags are great. Within Infusionsoft, they enable us to really begin to segment our list. Segment our contacts based on what they're interested in. In this case, they're interested in receiving my newsletter. So I'm going to go ahead here, configure tag. We want to apply a tag. I'm going to say newsletter. Now, I happen to have some that are already here in place. If I were making a new one, as many of you might be, and I am not spelling there correctly, you would have the option here to click create. And that will actually create that tag for you. So whenever you create a brand new tag, you can simply type in what that new tag is and hit create. Once we're done with that, we can click save. Now, just like when we've created an email and we hit save, and when we're creating a web form and we mark it as ready, we want to do the same thing here with a sequence. So once you're done with the tag, we're also going to mark the sequence as ready. So I'm going to give you a moment to finalize that tag portion. Put that tag into place there, and then once you're done, we're going to click this right in the upper left. We're going to change it from draft to ready. We give you a lot of different controls over here where you can turn things on and off. You can turn on individual pieces like your emails and tags. You can turn off an entire sequence if you want to, which is where these draft and ready boxes come in. David, I might have said something wrong there. I apologize. So yeah, in the upper right here, you'll click on, you'll change it from draft to ready. So once you're done with that, then we'll click back to campaign. So now on our campaign, we've got our web form right here, and we've got our sequence ready to go. We've gone through, we've created a web form. We've created an email. We've set a tag to be applied that says, hey, this person, they want to receive my newsletter in the future. And so now we've identified them as somebody that wants to receive that newsletter. Now all we have to do is connect them. So we simply click right here and drag, okay? So let me show that again. You hover over this icon, and there's this little green arrow that pops up. Click the green arrow, drag and connect it to your sequence. And here's essentially what that's doing. Remember, go back to my, let me go back here to my PowerPoint that I was describing, okay? I said, we've got our goals and we've got our sequences. Our goals, like that minion that's watching for something specific to happen. In this case, it's watching for a web form to be filled out. And as soon as it's filled out, it says, hey, you guys, it's your turn. And the first one here says, okay, I'll send my email. And the second one here says, okay, I'll apply a tag. And then it tells the next one to go, okay? And so that's essentially what we just configured here. Web form now says, hey, sequence, it's your time to go. And it's all set. So once you're done with that, we're going to publish. This is like our go live button. This is, okay, I'm done creating stuff. Whatever I've got marked as ready to go right now, I want to push it live. You may have some stuff that's not quite done yet. That's okay. This will only push those things out that are live to go. And what do I mean by pushing them out and publishing them? Well, let me show you. When I click publish, it's telling me here's what I'm going to publish. Doesn't mean emails right now are automatically going to send with what we've set up here. It doesn't mean the web form's automatically going to get launched out to lots of people. No, it just makes them live so that now we can start using them. So it's going to publish this Virtual Academy newsletter sign up web form, and then it's got the email and the tag that are ready to go. So I'll click publish. I invite you to do that as well. And now this is taking us over to what's called our Performance tab. Okay, and this is where we do some reporting and stuff. I'm not going to get deep into the reporting today. I'll leave that for another session. But what we do want to do is click back over here on Edit. Okay, so this is where we have our grid. This is where we can actually customize things. Jan said Jan's goal isn't showing up here. And that could be because it wasn't marked as ready. If you have something that you didn't mark as ready and you publish, it won't show up over here because this only shows us the things that have been published. So we'll go back to edit here. Jan, you would likely just need to open your web form and mark it as ready and then publish again. For everybody else, here's what we want to do. Again, we click back on that edit form. Let's go test this. Let's go try this out. Let's go see if it works. Okay. So let's double click on this web form again, kind of like we're going in to edit the web form. But really, here's what we want to do. Let's go click on code, that last tab. Okay. So we click on code. And for this particular test, here's what I'm going to recommend. I like to use this one here that says use the hosted version. Remember when I said we didn't really have to do anything to the web form for it to work? We're just going to click right here on one of these links, either one, and it takes us to that particular web form. And what you can do is you can fill it out, hit submit. It should take you to a thank you page, but what it should also do is send you an email, because that's what we configured it to do. Remember, right in here, if I go back to campaign, our sequence is supposed to send me an email and it's supposed to apply a tag. So let me open up my Outlook here and let's see what I got. Send and receive. Sometimes that takes a moment to come through. There we go. Very simple email that I had set up. Thanks for signing up. Thanks for signing up for my newsletter. Be sure to include, I'll be sure to include you on the next edition. Okay, if I went into my contact record, I should also have a tag applied to that one. So how many of you received the email? How many of you went through and signed up? Go ahead, take a moment and do that. Again, you go into your web form, click here on the code tab. Okay, so you can configure a thank you page and settings. Again, we didn't dive into those. I teach those more in the landing pages and web form session. But you'll want to click on code, and then you can choose use the hosted version. And you can click through to then have a live web form there. So if that worked out for you, go ahead and give me a shout out. Let me know what you had going on there. Shout out your successes. Looks like Tony, did you get that figured out at all? Tony was having some issues there. Something with the publish. Said the web form was published, but it wasn't showing up. Hey, Jan, where you're going to need to go on that Once you publish, it takes you over to the Performance tab. You need to click back over to the Edit tab. So Performance, this is how you view how things are performing, what the reporting is. If I refresh this, notice how it says I had one person sign up for it. Okay, Tony, good. Looks like you found that one out. Perfect. Heidi, it does take a moment there. Typically does. Judy, that Publish tab should be right here. Okay, right in this particular portion, you should have Edit. And, oh, sorry, you said Publish tab. My bad, I said Performance. The Publish will be right up in here. Now, mine's not green and red because I don't have anything left to publish. I haven't added anything new. Hey, Brenda, send me a message there on Twitter if you can. Brenda said, "What's the top number? 0." I'm not going to get deep into the reporting on this one, Brenda, but I do have a mastermind call that I did a few weeks back that I can send you where I go through and I explain all of that stuff, Brenda. I think you'd love that one. So that's the basics there of the campaign builder. Okay. If you remember, let's go all the way back. We talked about action, reaction, action, reaction, action that we want our customers or our prospects to take. That was the left-hand column of what we talked about. You can set up that action. You can define how you are, how you're tracking that action, what you're watching for them to do. Are they filling out a form? Are they filling out a landing page? Are they purchasing a product? Are you doing something internally? You can watch those things. Then as soon as they take that action, how do you respond? How do you react? That's where our sequences come in. Now, you can build on this and you can do a whole lot more things. When you get the new release, you may not have it quite yet. Okay, again, some of you may not have it. Most of you will. When you get the new release, let me escape this particular campaign right now. I'm going to do that by clicking back to list. You can click this thing called Marketplace. And we have a lot of campaigns that are already built out for you. Add somebody to Customate, add new member to Customer Hub, automate contact request, event registration follow-up, callbacks, reminders, automating your opportunities. We have a bunch of campaigns that are available to you for free that you can then sign up for. Free report campaign. Are you offering somebody a free report? Fantastic. Come click through here on more to see what that looks like. Great. We've got a website. There's a free report web form here. There's a sequence. Somebody can click to download. Okay. There's a lot of information here that you can then come see what it looks like. These include email, text as well. So these are preformed campaigns that you're ready, that you can load into your software by simply clicking install in the upper right. And then watch what happens. Content package free report campaign imported successfully. I click the OK button, and here it is back in my software. The one we just created here was ISVA May Campaign Builder Demo, but this is the new one that I just added. Again, you can do that by clicking Marketplace in the upper right. Once you've installed that, you can click through on the campaign and notice what we've got here. We've got a web form already set up. To get the code for this form, double click the code and go to the code tab on the top. Right? If we double click on this, we can see the form that's already set up here. Request our free report. Send me more information. Hey, you can customize this as much as you want to. Customize that, great. Then you back out of this one, report delivery. You need to put a link in this sequence to download the report. It gives you some instructions. Fantastic. We can double click through this one. It's already set up to apply a tag. You've got an email right here, and it's just giving you some instructions of what you need to do to make it yours. You double click, and there's text already in here. Earlier today, you requested our free report. We know you're busy and receive a lot of emails. Take a look here. We're encouraging you to put a link right here. Link to the report with the attachment snippet, all that. you're set and ready to go. And then this takes us on to kind of the next advancement here. This is another goal, and we can start stringing some things together. And as we string these together, we're able to put in multiple goals. So what we just talked about was this action, reaction, action, reaction. But remember, as I talked about campaigns, how I had a customer that said, it's my whole sales and marketing life. That's because she's starting to build more complex campaigns, or they do a few more things. There's actually a pipeline, kind of like a sales pipeline that you can completely automate here that says, great, what's the next thing? Remember, goals, we're looking for somebody to do something. In this case, what are we looking for? We're looking for somebody to click a link. We're watching for them to click a link to download that report. And once they do that, what happens? Well, this goal right here, this minion's watching for somebody to click that link. As soon as they click the link, what are they doing? Great. We're updating some tags here. And basically what that's doing is that's now saying they've downloaded that report. Fantastic. That's done. If you wanted to send some follow-up emails, you can do that. You can customize these as much as you want. But these are a great way for you to get started. So that's what I wanted to cover here as we get going within the campaigns. There was one other thing that I told you that I would cover here specifically, and that was these goals. Okay, notice how these goals have different icons here. A lot of times people say, which one do I choose? How do I know which one to choose? And what I want to tell you here is it doesn't matter which one you choose. And here's what I mean. What I want you to do, and the reason we gave you multiple goals over here, is so that you can better tell your story visually. If somebody needs to make a phone call, fantastic. Pull out this one that says call. Whoops, I think I accidentally put one over there as well. Pull out this one that says call, has a phone on there and represents better to you that there's something taking place on the phone. If somebody's signing up for a meeting or otherwise are purchasing something, great. Pull this one out. That's fantastic. Now, why do I say it doesn't matter which one you choose? Because watch. Remember this little icon down here? Notice that these are different by default. Okay, this one was purple. This one's orange. It's, this is representing what's called the note template. This is representing a product purchase. But watch. If I click on that, I can change this to be a web form as well. Yeah, it defaults to a note, because usually when people are logging a call, they use a note. That's another one we didn't talk about here today. It's a little bit less used, but it's very powerful. But if I wanted to use the call icon, but I wanted it to look like a web form or act like a web form, great. I can change this to behave exactly the same way by just changing it to be a web form. Okay. My product purchase, great. Yeah, that defaults here to be purchase as a product, but I could make it a web form as well. So it doesn't matter which of these goal icons you choose. What I want you to be able to do is build a campaign that makes sense visually when you're then describing it to other people. Guaranteed at some point you're going to have to explain this to somebody else. And so you have a lot of different goal icons here that can help you tell that story. And then what's actually happening behind it, you can customize using this little icon right down here. Submits a web form. I double click on that and hey, guess what? Now it's a web form. I can customize a web form. If I change it to be something else, product purchased, great. Now it behaves differently. When I double click on it, now it's saying, okay, which product do they purchase? When it's an email link right here, I double click and I can go through, I can pick which links in an email, which ones count. So we've got those different options. So that's how those work, and that's why I tell you, you can choose any one of these goals. So that's what I've got here. That's what I wanted to cover with you here today. I want to go through a couple things. I know we've got some questions coming through, but I promised you guys I would wrap this one up. We've got about 10 minutes over here, so I apologize for that. Let me ask one quick question, and that is, how would you rate the content here on today's call? Give me some feedback. Let me know how helpful this has been. 5 is you learned a ton. This has been really helpful. You loved it. All the way down to a 1. Hey, this was a terrible waste of my time. I want my time back. So let me know on that one. If you want to give me some more specifics on that beyond just the rating, feel free to let me know there in the questions section. I always appreciate getting that information from you. We'll leave that one up here for about 5 more seconds. We'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, perfect. Thank you all very much for letting me know on that one. I'm going to save that information here quickly. Hit save. All right. There we go. Okay. So let me jump into some questions that we've got coming through here. I'll scroll back up to the top. Is it Sergio? Am I saying that one there properly? Let's see if we've still with us here. Yep. Okay. Perfect. Sergio had a big question here at the beginning. Let's assume that I have a campaign leading to and following up after a webinar, which is scheduled at a fixed date. Someone registers and I want them to receive an email immediately without a delay. Another email a day later, another email 4 days after the registration time. I also want them to receive a reminder email 3 days before the event, reminder 1 day before the event, a final reminder 1 hour before the event. Finally, I want them to receive a follow-up email 3 hours after the event. Wow, okay. You've got a whole bunch of stuff going on here, Sergio. It's looking more advanced than what we were talking about today, but I want to touch on a couple things there. So I'm going to pull up the one that we were creating, the newsletter follow-up. Now, one of the things that we didn't talk about here was timers. And this is another thing that you're able to do. When you want to start putting together sequences and follow-ups, what you're able to do is pull out this thing called the timer. Oops, I hit delete there. Now, remember, as I was talking about these minions, each of them has one job, and that's it. So when this sequence starts, this one says, hey, start. And the next one says, all right, I'll send an email. And so it sends the email, and then it tells the next one to do its job. And the next one's job is to apply a tag. And then it tells the next one to do its job. Well, the timer's job is to just kind of count, wait a certain amount of time. And so we can configure this timer, and in Sergio's case here, it says we need this one to wait 1 day. We can have it wait a matter of minutes or hours. We can tell it to only run on certain days of the week. You know, maybe I need these things to go out on weekdays. I do B2B, and my best open rates are on weekdays, not on weekends, so I want to avoid those. So you can choose how you want that to work. I'm going to go ahead and set this to say any day, and then I can set a specific time of day that it tells the next one to work, the next one to go. So this one, here's what's happening. I'll set this at 8 a.m., and I'll hit save. So the email sends, and it says, okay, your turn. This one applies a tag. It says, okay, your turn. This one goes, okay, I'm going to wait a day. And it waits a day. It's kind of like looking at its clock, tapping its wristwatch, going, waiting. Okay, wait. Next day comes, 8 a.m., and then it says, all right, now it's your turn. So then you can send another email here. And that email can be set up, and then you can delay a day. So these are great for automated follow-ups. When you want to send out an email and give it to somebody, give them the information they request, and then wait a day and check in with them. Hey, what'd you think? Or did you get a chance to download it yet? If not, here, go ahead and click through. Here's the download link again. And then we can put together another timer. So these are great for putting together your follow-up workflow and communications. Now, that's talking about the delay timer here. Sergio's pointing out another one here that's called the date timer. And this is great because the difference is the delay timers all look at when somebody signed up. And it says, hey, this person signed up on this date and time, and then everything executes in relation to when they signed up. Waits a day and sends an email. Waits a day and sends an email related to when they signed up. The date timer that I've pulled out here is different. Instead of delaying a certain amount of time, we're actually specifying a specific day we want it to be sent out on. So that means if I had 100 people sign up for this on different days, their delay timers when they receive those emails up here would all be different. But down here, this one designates something that they'd all receive at the same time on the same day. So we can start to play with these. So Sergio, what you're trying to do here is a little bit more advanced than I typically get into here. But really, what you're looking to do is you're going to create a couple different flows here. Okay, so you've got this one that's all based on delays, but then you're going to create another one here that's going to be based on specific dates. And so you can then begin to specify a date and then an email. Okay, and then you're going to specify another date and an email. And so your specific dates here, this would be the one that's like your 4 days before an event and your 2 days before an event and an hour before an event. Does that make sense there? Does that help, Sergio? You basically create both of those. With these ones right here, that gets a little bit dicey, Sergio. We'd have to get into some more specifics there. You may want to reach out and schedule some time with one of our coaches to go through that one. That gets a little bit more specific than I'm going to be able to get into here with everybody on the call. But I like the question that you're asking. It gets us into some of the different timers here. So I appreciate you asking that one. So okay, awesome. Let's see. Tony's asking something related here. Can you use both a delay and specific date timers in one sequence? Yes, that is what we're doing here. These will execute simultaneously. So I always picture these starts, it's childish, but here's what comes to mind. Growing up, did any of you have those like Hot Wheels race tracks or something where you could put a couple different cars in and then you hit a button or you tip something and the cars all start at the same time? That's kind of what's happening here. Okay, these starts both start at the same time. Now, we don't allow you to mix your timers here. Okay, so if I wanted to do a delay timer and then a specific date timer, we don't allow you to connect to those because depending on when somebody signs up, those might execute in different in different orders, and so that would be a problem visually if we delayed a day, but then the next scheduled date was before the delay. Anyways, it gets a little rough there. So instead, we have you create different kind of like swim lanes here, different tracks. One that's going to be based on delays, one that's going to be based here on specific dates, and then they execute as necessary there. So these will be based on when they signed up. These will be based on those specific days. Let's see. Next question here. Linus is asking here, when will the recording be available? I will try and get that posted here by the end of the day. If not, it will be tomorrow morning. I announced that on Twitter as well. So let's see here. Same topic there. Troy's asking if the date timer is passed, will the system skip that action or complete? If the date timer is passed, it will just jump past that date to the next particular date. All right, next question that we've got here. Still scrolling through. Let me see. Oh, Tony said, can you use old legacy web forms already built when setting up the new campaign in the campaign builder? Yeah, what's pretty slick here, Tony, is we've given you access to pretty much all of the templates or web forms that you might have created. Basically, you'll just pull out one of those goals. Okay, so this one's a web form already, and you double click through onto it, and you've got some cool options right up here. So I can copy from another campaign. So if I've already created another web form in another campaign, I can simply copy that one right here, or I can copy it from legacy. So Tony, that should give you the option to then go through and go find one of those legacy campaigns that you or web forms that you might have already created previously. Laurel asked, I don't like what I called my campaign. How do I edit the name of my campaign? That's going to be similar to what I just showed here. Basically, you've got some customization options on this button up top. So you can rename it. There are some other things. If you want to make a copy of this campaign, you can straight copy the campaign. You can save versions of things. So if you wanted to modify it and save a version and kind of save a restore point, you can do that. You can undo changes that you've made. So for example, undo the one that I had just added. So there's some cool things that you can do as well. Let's see, what else? Jen, how do you save a custom email template for future use? Again, I get into that more in depth and better on how to manage campaigns. But if you already have one that you've created within a campaign here that you want to save, you can simply go into that email and click Save as Template. And that will then save it as a template in your templates portion. Then if you ever want to invoke that template and use it, you'll open one of these emails and click Use Email, and then you can go call that template out and import it here, and then it will overwrite whatever you have here already. So I recommend you only click the Use Template option when you have a blank email here, or you're okay overwriting whatever email you already have in place. Tony, your clarification there. So will all the actions and tags set up in the old legacy carry over into the new campaign, or do those need to be set up again? Tony, those will be stripped out. So what you're copying over from legacy is the form, the fields and everything, the design of the form, but not the actions. The actions will need to be reconfigured in the way that the campaigns work. So let's see. Next question. Still going through here, catching up on some things. Troy, sorry to hear that you were having some trouble there getting logged in. I hope you're able to keep up with us. Again, I will post this recording so that you can go back through it if any of you want to review it later. Jan, I noticed you were having some questions here on the code. Jan, were you able to get that part figured out? Nope. Okay. Jan, so you were saying we lost you after at the web form code. We couldn't get back to the right spot after publishing. So Jan, are you on the, let me get back here. Are you on the performance tab? Is this what you're looking at there? You're on the edit tab. Okay, great. So yeah, once we're on that edit tab, when we want to access the web form itself, we're going to go right here and double click on the web form. And as we get into the web form and we want to grab the code, we can do that by clicking this tab right up top. And once we've done that, we have this option down below, use the hosted version. And that's the one that I like to use. There is an option up here that says test. I've had some hiccups with that one. Me personally, I just prefer to use the hosted version. It does essentially the same thing, but I just like to use this version because then I can choose any email address that I want to test it to. Okay. Jan, we may need to take a look at yours later. We may need to have you call into technical support on that one. If you can't find the web form, I'm not sure what might be going on there. The thing I'd verify is that we've got this icon right here, you'd want to make sure that icon, the little purple icon there, is a purple icon and not something else. So you'd want to make sure that that's set up to be a web form. And then when you double click, it should take you to this web form screen. If that's not what you're getting, then we're probably off track somewhere further back along the line. Heidi, did your test email ever come through there? Nope, that one. Wow, you were quick on the draw there. You may want to check on that one as long as you've got this connected. So there's a few things that we want to make sure we've got on that. You want to make sure that these are connected, because if they're not connected, it doesn't know that this sequence should go after this web form. So you want to make sure that those are connected. And also, you'll want to make sure that each of these are turned on and published. If they're not turned on and published, the email here and the sequence itself, you want to make sure that each of those are turned on and ready to go. Okay, so you said that one, it is set up. If you go back over, one other thing is this, and here's what I like to do. If I click on the Performance tab, sometimes people say, well, what's actually set up to run in my system? You know, because sometimes you can add things that you haven't turned on and published yet. I like to look at the Performance tab, because I can even double click through on this and see what's actually set up to run, what's live right now. I can have things that I haven't yet turned on, marked as ready, not published. And those won't appear here on the Performance tab because they're not live yet. So if that one's not working there, what you may want to do is, if that one's not working, it might have gone to your spam folder because we didn't put much content in there. So I would check that one first there, Heidi. If that's still not working, go ahead and reach out to technical support on that one. Linus, you're asking about Twitter there. My Twitter handle is just Scott Richens. So if you go here, here's my Twitter handle right here if you want to connect with me. Let's see. Troy, I'm not sure what the limitations there of the Sandbox app, so I can't speak to that one specifically. I've not worked with those. So I'll need to have you check with wherever you got that Sandbox app. Let's see. Next one. Judy, oh yeah, Brenda, be sure to, again, send me a message there on Twitter asking me to post the information on the campaign, the reporting, and the performance tab. I've got one there that I think you'll really like, so just make sure to send me a reminder. Judy, you said the publish wasn't there. Did you ever get that one figured out? No? Okay. So, Judy, again, your publish, let me go back here. Your publish button will appear right here within the campaign builder. Whenever you add something new or make a change, it should update. So for example, if I were to pull out another goal here and configure that goal, let me just set this one up real quick. What I'm doing here doesn't actually make sense from a marketing perspective, but I'm just trying to turn something else on. Notice how this publish button now lit up because there's something new that I just added that's not that's not yet live. It needs to be published. So that pops up there. So Judy, are you getting that popping up there? Do you see the button? It's just not lit up, or what's happening? Let me know there if I can. Not even when I zoom out and it's not there. Okay. Judy, you may need to reach out to technical support. The only thing that I can think, because I've never heard this one, and the only thing I can think is if your browser's off the screen. I know that's rudimentary, but I can't think of anything else that might be causing that. I don't think, or unless this is up above it as well. So you may need to reach out to technical support there, because it should be there, and I haven't heard of it not being there. Alexis, hey, Alexis, you were asking about the mastermind call as well. Again, feel free to shoot me a message there. Hey, John, on the unsubscribe info there on the emails, you can simply click down here and modify the information. Okay, you do have the ability to edit that. I would highly recommend, John, and you'll want to take a look at the acceptable use policy and otherwise. But the unsubscribe, always make sure you got an unsubscribe button there. Don't play games with that, because that'll just get you in trouble across the board. If somebody wants off your list, let them, gentleman's handshake. Hey, thanks, I don't want to receive anything anymore. Let them do that. Otherwise, they'll mark it as spam, and that's something that we don't want to have happen there. So always make sure there's an unsubscribe there. Some people like to have fun with it, and hey, if you click the unsubscribe link, know that you won't receive my great information anymore. Stuff like that. Hey, have some fun with it. That's great. But people look for unsubscribe. There's something we've talked about around here, and it's the concept of something that's called the law of least astonishment. People shouldn't have to search for stuff that they know where to expect. The search bar, typically the search bar is in the right-hand side or the upper right-hand side, or, the navigation is typically going to be at the top or the left-hand side of the screen. Those are things that we come to expect. So build off of those. People expect the unsubscribe link to be at the bottom of the page and say unsubscribe. So let that happen. If they can't find that, if they got to look around for it, they'll probably just mark it as spam. So just be careful with that. David, you were asking a question there. What was that again? How did you get that? I'm not quite sure what you were asking there. So if you can give me a little more context, I'd be happy to speak to it. Let's see. And again, Jan, I'm sorry you were having trouble there finding the code tab. Sometimes I can't stop the train when we've got everybody else that we're trying to move along as well. So I do apologize on not being able to stop and help you right there at that point. Let's see. David said, I don't have the marketplace button on my campaign builder screen, but I do have the new version. David, I'm not 100% certain there what would cause that one. Anybody else out there? The marketplace button. Does anybody else have that marketplace button there? Sometimes I have some extra tools and stuff and things that are live just because mine's on our alpha and beta programs, and I have some tools here. Okay, David said I don't have the marketplace button yet. David, do you have the new release? Do you have like this new interface here as well? Do you have My Day? Sorry, I've got two Davids here. Both David N. Is chiming in. He said he doesn't have the marketplace button yet. David N. I'm wondering if you've got the new release. Oh, okay. So David N. doesn't have the new release yet here. Let me do some checking on that one. I've got David C. here is asking questions about that. Let me see about that. Follow up with me there and shoot me a message on Twitter if possible, and I will try and get back to you there. Dennis, what's the best process to connect Infusionsoft to Customer Hub automatically? Like, for example, this campaign after a purchase was made. What are the important things to have to remember? Really, David Dennis, on that one, the biggest things to remember are, you'll create a campaign that's got a goal here based on a product purchase, and you'll configure that product purchase, a specific product or otherwise, so maybe a membership or a subscription. But then the important things to have there is how you respond. How do you respond? Well, we can respond here by using this process goal. Again, there's a lot of things in here that we didn't yet talk about, but they're for more specific situations. Dennis, you'll want to use this one that says add to Customer Hub. And it's as simple as putting your Customer Hub notice in here. Okay, so I'll hit, or your Customer Hub application name. So we'll just hit that here and hit save. Okay, so that right there, Dennis, will register them. The only other thing that you've got to do is set your permissions if they're based on tags. If somebody bought a subscription and you set your permissions in Customer Hub based on a subscription, that's already taken place. This will just register them and they'll have access to what they need. If you need to apply tags to give them access to anything additional, then you could use the apply tag option. The one other thing that I would really recommend that you do, though, Dennis, is make sure that you send an email out to them as well and give them their username and password, or the link there to your Customer Hub account that says here, go to http, whatever.customerhub.net. Dennis, that's what you would want to make sure that you do. Linus, sorry to hear that. Sometimes it's difficult to just check out there in the office. I know how that goes. Ryan said, where are the archive videos, VA videos located so I can rewatch this one? I will update that when I give you links all over the place. One that I have for you now is right here. On any of these tabs, you can just click this, download our most recent recorded sessions. You just click on that and it will take you to the recordings page. I announce it on Twitter when I have updated it. So right now you'll see the new campaign builder. This is the April 24th session that I did. By tomorrow morning, I should have that updated so that this download link is today's session, today's replay. Awesome. Thanks for the feedback there, Ryan. Sergio, going back to your question here, how do I have them receive emails 2 and 3 only if they're no later than 3 days before the event? If you're using delay timers there, Sergio, there's no way to skip an email in a delay timer. If it is based on date timers and that date's already passed, it will skip past that date and it will skip, so if it's, you were setting something out to have a 5 days out and a 3 days out and a 2 days out. Well, what happens if I sign up 4 days out? Well, 4 days out, if we're using those date timers, it would skip the one that was 5 days out, and I would only get the one that was 3 days out. So does that help out there, Sergio? Hey, Rick, thanks for joining us here. Rick's stepping out. Appreciate the feedback there. Ryan, I got you. I didn't make the connection there, Ryan. Ryan and I are connected on Twitter. We're having a chat. Yeah, Ryan, that kicked my butt. I haven't gone back yet. I'm still recovering, but hopefully in the near future. Let's see. Next one, David. David saying, I have quite a few campaigns and sequences built in the legacy follow-up sequences structure. How can I integrate between the two or create new campaigns in the campaign builder and trigger old sequences as part of that? David, what you can use on that is this option down here under, not notes, but under process. There is an option here to pull in what's called an action set, apply an action set. So David's been with us for a long time. He built a lot of stuff outside of the campaign builder. If you're new to Infusionsoft, this really doesn't apply to you. But David here needs to access some things that he created prior to the existence of the campaign builder. David, you're going to do that using this thing here called an action set. And David, you can use that and you can trigger some of those old follow-up sequences. What I will tell you is you can't easily stop those old follow-up sequences. That's something that you got to be aware of. The campaign builder is all set up here where we can have things automatically start and stop as different goals are achieved. When you invoke some of those old legacy follow-up sequences, it does not, goals within the campaign builder won't automatically stop those. So is that clear there, David? You'll create an action set. If you've been with us for a long time, David, do you know what action sets are? You familiar with that? Awesome. David says, proud Infusionsoft user for 6+ years. We keep getting better every year. And thanks for that and the great info. Okay, awesome. So yeah, David, basically what it's allowing you to do, let me get back in there. not that one, but this one. It's allowing you to invoke an action set that you've created previously. So these are all manually created action sets there. And so you can set within that action set to invoke one of those legacy follow-up sequences. Again, for most of you, any of you that have been with us for a year, that doesn't apply to you. Suzanne says, can you explain how the purchase goal works? Great question there, Suzanne. With the purchase goal, basically what happens, this purchase goal, we set this. Remember how I talked about the minions? We're saying, here's your job. Your job is to watch for this to happen. Well, what is this? This is defined by how we configure the goal. We want it to watch for a product to be purchased. So then we say save. Well, what product? Well, we double click on this. Is it any product? Any product that gets purchased? Any purchase? Is it a specific product or purchase? Is it a specific category? So we get to define it here. So in this case, I'm saying let's make it a specific product purchase, this particular product. Now, when you're using Infusionsoft e-commerce, you can set up to sell these products via the storefront and the shopping cart, or via order forms, or otherwise. If you sell these via the storefront or shopping cart or the order forms, then this the campaign here, this goal is watching the storefront and the order forms to say, okay, did this get sold? And as soon as it gets sold, it triggers this follow-up sequence. So that's basically how it works. Does that help there, Suzanne? Does that help clarify that for you? Okay, perfect. Alexis had a follow-up there on the legacy action set stuff. Will the reporting features work? Yes, kind of. Not as fully as if you had it all built out in the campaign builder. And what I mean on that is, for example, if I go back here, let me get in there to a performance tab. All of this information, yes, it will track that somebody's in that sequence, but when you dive down lower, you can get reporting based on where people are at within the steps. And the problem is when you use the action set, it calls in a sequence is somewhere else. I mean, and that just doesn't surface up within these reports here. Yeah, do we know that person got added to the high level sequence here? Yes, but do we know that they got added to that legacy sequence? No. So that's going to be that's not going to be there. Follow up here from Alexis: is it best to just start moving stuff out of legacy and building it from scratch in the campaign builder? Alexis, anything new that you're doing, I would build in the campaign builder. Yes, absolutely. Legacy is there. It's not going away until there's some way that we have to help you, some option we have to help you move anything that you've got there from the legacy things into campaign builder. So as far as reporting, the reporting that you've got within the campaign builder, we're building out some great stuff. You were already asking there about the mastermind call that I did. You're going to love that one when you see it, because you get some very detailed reports, and we're actually launching some new things here in the future as well that you'll like. Let's see. Next questions here. David, how do I install a marketplace campaign if I don't have the marketplace button? Darn good question. I don't know that you can. So just hang tight on that one. That should be coming shortly. I don't know why it wouldn't be there though. But again, David, feel free to follow up with me, because I'd like to get a specific answer on that as well. Sergio, going back to your question here, you want to delay 3 days, but no later than a specific date. I don't know that you can configure it to do that. There are some creative ways that you could do that, Sergio. If I were to think on it, I could probably come up with something, but I'm not going to get as into that one right now. That sounds like something. Again, let's get you connected up with a coach there, and they can help you out there. Let's see. Troy said, if a date timer is passed, will the system skip that action or complete it? It will skip the action, Troy. So if a date timer is passed, it will skip past that. Tony had a question here. Tony, I apologize for not being able to get to this one earlier. It said, how do you know that the system doesn't accept that? Will you get a message and not be allowed to save? So Tony, going back into not this one, but oh, I reverted. I deleted out some of that stuff. So we had some here that had delay timers and some that had the date timers. So Tony, can you clarify your question there for me a little bit more? I think I lost some of the context that we had. How do we know the system doesn't accept that? Will we get a message and not be allowed to save? Clarify there for me what you meant by that so I can speak to it there for you. You said you had I just found your other one. You had a sequence set up with 2 different types of timers, but got no message that it wouldn't work. It's not that it won't work. Here's what we've built in there for you, Tony. What we've built in is we don't allow you to connect them, right, within the same flow or whatever you want to call this here. Okay. We don't allow you to connect them. So we stop you there from being able to connect it. Now, as far as the question of it won't work, I guess that would depend on your configuration. Basically, what ends up happening here when you have two different flows here, and again, for those of you that are brand new, this is advanced. I don't cover this stuff in the regular presentation time for a reason. Because many people don't use it. So if you need to plug your ears and go la, 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 that's okay. You can do that here. Don't get overwhelmed by this. But Tony, that's what you did, and it did connect. Tony, that surprises me. I need to see what you're doing there. It shouldn't ever allow you to connect different ones within the same thing here. So if it did allow you to do that, then that's a bug. Now, what could happen is I've seen some people, just connect the date timer in here directly, and that's A-okay. It's because you don't have a delay timer in there already. You're not mixing timers. It's once you try and start mixing timers that you'll have some trouble. Am I hitting it here, Tony, or are we starting to connect why it might be happening, or is there something else going on here? Like I said, we may need to have you reach out to technical support there to figure out what happened. Interesting. Yeah, feel free to send me a screenshot on that one. I'm curious to see it for my own knowledge. But as far as actually getting help there, Tony, on getting that resolved, I'm going to point you towards technical support because they're going to be able to help you quicker than I can on that one. I want to be able to help you, but it would take me a few days at least to get back to you here, just buried on a couple other projects. So let's get you over with technical support. Let's see. Still going through some questions here, still catching up. Linus, were you able to find me there on Twitter? Oh, Linus is gone, so never mind. David was saying something about the email delivery. So I think Judy was having some trouble there. Somebody's having some trouble with an email coming through. Yeah, GoDaddy's a little slow on something right now. There was some gray list or blacklist that we got on that we worked out, but GoDaddy's been slow updating their DNS records or whatever it is. So we're trying to get that figured out. Christy said, I'm still confused as to what a tag is. Well, thanks for asking the question there. Christy, are you still with us? Looks like you are. Christy, what a tag is used for. Tags are great for identifying different interests for people or things that they've done. Okay, so for example, with tags, what I like to use tags for in this example is I apply a tag to everybody that wants my newsletter. And a tag is just like an identifier. It's kind of like a sticker or a post-it note that you put on somebody. Okay, so we put that post-it note there on them, and whenever in the future I need to know everybody that has that interest or has done something or has purchased a particular product, I can go search based on those tags. So where those tags then show up, if I go back to list, Christy, do you mind if I pull you up in my training application here? It might display your email, so that's why I ask that. But I can actually just show you my record of you within my training application. If you're okay with that, let me know. Otherwise, I'll work on pulling up another one here. What we've got, for example, if I pull up my record, I've got these tags. And these tags are designed to track some of the different things that I've done. As a matter of fact, if I want to read them more easily, I can click on this tab and it will show me the same information. So I've got tags based on different interests, things attended the webinar, interested in copywriting, signed up for the newsletter, for the virtual academy. I've got a whole bunch of things, and some of this is just test data, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But this one, for example, I had a friend that was putting on some events, and I went to the event. I signed up for that event, and so I tagged everybody that came to that event, so then we could send a follow up. So why are the tags useful? Well, because then we can go search for contacts based on those tags. And when I want to send out to a broadcast for everybody, like every week when I send out a broadcast for the Virtual Academy, I go pull everybody that has the Virtual Academy tag, and I send a broadcast to them. So that's where the tags come in. David, you were asking there about the marketplace button again. Where does that appear? Where would it be? David, that marketplace button should be right there on your campaigns page. Again, I'm not quite sure why it's there. I'm not arguing with you that it's not there. Obviously, it's not there. I'm not certain why it isn't there. I know there was some delay with the Infusionsoft ID stuff as to why we might not have launched it. So it should be here. When it is there, it should be here on the campaigns tab for you. You can click on marketplace and it will take you over there. Additionally, when you are in a campaign, you may create a campaign like we had here and then say, hey, you know what? I wonder what they got in the marketplace. So you can just click on marketplace right here and it will then take you over to the marketplace. Keeps you right there within. You can go back to campaign and you can explore it right from within Infusionsoft. Explore what some of the different campaigns are. Search for something that you're trying to do. On this one, again, maybe I'm doing a report. Great. So that'll go through and search. Let's see what it pulls up. I've actually not tested this and done a search on it yet. Live demo is always fun. So it should go through and do a search there for us and pull up anything that says report. There we go. So free report campaign. So it looks like search is going a little bit slow there, but I'm sure our tech team's working on that. Tony asks, is there a session that focuses on legacy action set creation? The answer on that one, Tony, is no. When it comes to legacy features like that, we really don't train on those anymore. I believe we still have some help center documentation on those, but those really aren't features that we're continuing to build out or that we're encouraging people to use, especially when you're a new user. If you haven't created things there in legacy and the legacy follow-up sequences and action sets, then that's not something that I'm going to encourage you to begin building at this time. We're not building out new features there at all. We're not making it go away. So if you choose to, hey, that's your choice right now. But my recommendation to you would be to not build things there in the legacy portion. Alexis asked a question here. One more question. And this was kind of following up on some other stuff. Should we do purchase actions through Campaign Builder or through purchase actions? Hey, Alexis, anything new that you're creating, I would go ahead and set those up in the Campaign Builder if I were you. Alexis, are you doing manual orders or all online orders? You're doing both. You may want to continue to use the purchase actions portion then. Right now, the manual orders, I don't think those trigger the purchase actions within the Campaign Builder. So when you run a manual order there, I don't think the Campaign Builder picks up on that and runs with it. So you may want to set those up there in the purchase actions portion. Either that, well, yeah, that's what I would recommend there. Troy said, is there a way to use an internal form to set the dates on date timers? For instance, fill out an internal form or web form that specifies a date in the future, then have the campaign set a reminder for 1 day before that date. Your follow-up here, maybe use a custom field with a field timer. That's exactly the answer there, Troy. So the other field option that we hadn't talked about, or the other timer option that we hadn't talked about, was the one called field timer. And really, the field timer there, Troy, what you can do is you can specify a certain number of days before or after a specific field. And if you make a custom date field, then that would appear here as well. So that's what I would look at there, Troy. That's how you would make a variable based on, before or after a certain date. You may also want to check out some tools there, Troy. If that's going to be a custom date, instead of having to calculate that each time, or if you want to automate that custom date calculation after somebody fills out a form online, there are some cool plugins that will do that calculation for you. So you may want to check that out. There's one out there called Plus This that does that kind of stuff for you. It does date calculations. There's another one, I believe it does date calculations as well, called Tactical Actions. So you can check those out in the marketplace, marketplace.infusionsoft.com, and those will automate some of that calculation for you so that you don't have to do it. All right. Looks like I'm about to the end of the questions here. Actually, I am to the end of the questions. If there's anything else, go ahead and give me a shout out there and let me know before we wrap up. But otherwise, we will be wrapping up here shortly. Again, thank you so much for everybody that's been out here today. We have definitely gone some extra innings today as we've gone through these questions, but I appreciate the questions that you are bringing to me here. I look forward to chatting with you guys on some future sessions. Again, keep bringing the questions. Next week, we actually won't have any Virtual Academy sessions because I will be running our 4-day Infusionsoft University that's here on site. Again, if you're interested in joining us for that at some point in the future, check out infusionsoft.com/university. We've got it coming to London in June, and we should be announcing another one here at Infusionsoft headquarters in the near future. That announcement will come out, so keep an eye out there. Again, thanks so much for being here today. I will post up the recording hopefully by tomorrow morning, and I look forward to seeing y'all on a future version of the Virtual Academy. Thanks so much for being here, and have a great afternoon.